Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone on
Turn your radio off.
Alexa, off our entrances.
Who cares? Like, who cares?
I was going to say are unique.
Yeah, but isn't it quite cool these days? Like when I watch the only thing that I watch, I never watch a podcast. Do you watch a podcast on YouTube?
Rarely. I watch clips of podcasts.
The only one I watch is Stick to Football, and they always start off by just having a general natter about life and just a random thing that'll come up. But hey, do you know what? Do you not remember, like back in the day, let's say 5 years ago, probably used to really overthink the intro, didn't you? How do you start it? What do you do? How should we set it up?
Yeah.
Now, genuinely, I'm talking to you whilst multitasking, trying to organise the Christmas night out for my football team. So here we go. Well, this is how much I care these days. No, I'm joking. Yeah, but it's true, isn't it? It's mad. What else was I going to say then? I don't know what I was going to say. Anyway, get on with it.
Welcome, everyone, by the way.
Yeah, welcome. Hiya. Hello. No Sky today. She inconveniently got married just today.
So selfish.
A selfish and mental decision. What a bad decision.
I have a week off work now. What's that?
Just started. You know what I mean? She's had more work time off since she's been here than you've had this year, to be fair. I see how I nearly said me, and I was like, actually, I've had 3 weeks off. I've only got a week left.
Isn't it mad how we stick to that? Like, we're self-employed, we can do whatever we want. And we're like, 4 weeks.
4 weeks, yeah. Just get used to it. Yeah. But what did you used to do when you were a full-time coach? I used to try and do that 4 weeks a year.
Mate, the last 4 years of being a full-time coach. Well, I lived in Oz, so it was just one big holiday anyway, really. So, and then before that, I was like a year self-employed where I grafted to save to go to Oz. And then before that, it was 4 years on cruise ships.
Yeah, you're probably right, actually. I probably didn't start having holidays until Lexi came along, thinking about it. Yeah. Anyway, let's go.
Question 1. How would you change the narrative from being just an in-person PT to adding online coaching and only wanting to take people online through Instagram, emails, classes, etc.?
Change the narrative, I suppose is a good way of putting it. For me, if you only wanted to take people online, there has to be like a level of attention created on a change on the front end of your messaging. So like it needs to be blatantly obvious that there has been a change, or something's different. And I think the best way of me putting this, to make it really simple, is that you make a massive song and dance about the online coaching that you do. You give it a name, you build up to it, you give it a launch, you give it a backstory and a narrative behind it. So then when you're creating awareness and attention across your platforms, like what did you put? Instagram, emails, classes in gym and all of that, people starting to recognize that actually something's new. Like you'll get it in the gym. Like you'll get it in the gym all the time. When I was moving from Fitness First into another gym, it was about a 6 months process to that. But then I was talking about it a lot on Facebook. So people come up to you in the gym and go, oh, really exciting for you for the move and all of that type of stuff. This looks sick. That looks really good. All of that. And just a general chit chat. But that's because you're creating attention and awareness about it. So I think to make that process easier, there has to be some attention grabbing brand awareness that helps people recognize and understand there's a change. But then your marketing message has to help people get it and understand it. But my best bit of advice for any in-person PT is that when you do that, you then have to go all in and commit to that, and not then think, shit, this is not working as well as I thought, i.e. I'm not getting as many online clients as I wanted. So now I'm just going to take what I can in terms of in-person PT. For me, at that point, once you make that decision, you've got to go 2 feet in, commit to it, and then give it a real big level of brand identity. So that, in my opinion, is how you would change the narrative and then consistently do that. Anything you would add?
Nope.
Done well there. As a coach who is brand new to the mentorship, what is your biggest piece of advice to maximise the opportunity?
Great question. I think the first thing is there's some obvious things in here, but maybe not so obvious. So the first one is, I think, over communicate to us as much as you can, whether things are going well, whether things are going not as expected, whether you're finding challenges in certain areas which you may feel simple things and don't want to pipe up. I think communication is really, really key. I think viewing the on business work as your work, not for us. Like none of this work is for us. All of it is for you, your business, and moving forward. And I think you've got to treat it as such. I don't think you can treat it as two separate things. You're not, there's a reason why we've changed this from a course to a mentorship. So that's the second thing. The obvious things, like, I think your schedule is going to determine a massive amount, and the way you manage your diary, manage your energy, be as specific as possible with your tasks. And I think one of the key things if I could frame that in a certain way, it would be treat your business as you've already achieved the goal. So take it serious now, even if you're not full, you haven't got the amount of clients you want, you may be doing X, Y, and Z. Like, treat your business as successful now. Don't wait until it's successful and then try and implement things. Like, where you're starting now is setting the framework to enable those things to be managed effectively and efficiently, not to make you overwhelmed and burnt out, and to not have the time to implement certain systems and whatnot. I think those are the really, really key things. The last thing I would also add in is, don't write any goal down unless you're going to constantly refer to that. Like, that should be front of mind. And that's easy to say because we write our goals down, we get on with the grind, we get on with coaching clients, we just get on with work. And sometimes that's lost a little bit over the month and over the months. So I think whether you put it on your desktop, whether it's written on a whiteboard in your office, whether that is on your screensaver on your phone, like, keep that goal front of mind, because that's going to keep you on course. There's lots of things to think about. There's lots of things to do. There's a million and one things to pull your attention away and distract you. So that is a massive thing, is keep that front of mind consistently. And that's my list. I could go on, but I think those are the top ones. Anything you would add? I overachieved there, didn't I? How many emails should I send leads a month as a newbie to email marketing?
Start at 2 and build from there. I used to say like any habit, start with 1, but I actually think if you can do 1, you can absolutely do 2, right? I genuinely do. And I think if you're putting out content on social media, a lot of it can link to it. So I think, for me personally, if you can send 8 a month, 10 a month, 8 to 10 a month, then I think it's a good start. Next question. What are you most looking forward to about this year's Coaches Conference? You have just heard the background of my talk, by the way.
Honestly, like, I'm really looking. There's not one bit where I'm like, oh, that's a filler. I'm looking forward to the whole thing. Like, for people who don't know what it's about, we have like quarterly meetups, but then at the end of the year, this is the third year now, we put a 2-day conference on for our guys, predominantly, like, mainly. There's maybe about 10 spaces for people outside the academy, and the first day is all around bettering you as a business owner, from understanding financial success to, like, having a really clear, exciting, driven goal for next year, to having someone come in and motivate you about who's ran a successful gym for the last 10 years, to one of our own coaches who has gone through a really challenging demographic that is so far away from him. It's unreal, to the Saturday where it's literally, it's filling the gaps of what's going to give you and your clients better results. Like, it's the coaching, it's improving you as a coach, the delivery, from being efficient and effective and having confidence in programming, to understanding yourself and where your strengths are to deliver coaching, and also where you need to be really fully aware of where your weaknesses are to improve, to build a community, whatever Ant's jabbering on about. I don't know what he was talking about. Yeah, the whole thing, the awards on the evening, we're doing a little awards, bit of tongue-in-cheek awards on the evening. So the whole thing I'm looking forward to, and seeing everyone. Yeah. Anything that stands out for you, apart from mine, obviously?
My talk, no one else's.
What's your talk about?
Don't want to talk about it now. You've just move on to next.
But yeah, that's mine. Next one. Oh, sorry. Let me get. This is a request or a question? Could you do a live experiment mini series of how you plan and run your marketing campaigns, showing the behind the scenes process you go through of plan, make the creative ads, then the result of the campaign? I'd love to see a recording of you planning sessions, what they look like behind the scenes.
Honestly, you wouldn't.
Don't know if he means like an ad or...
No, he means the whole process. So they're probably not as, listen, there's a strategy to it, but it's probably not as clear cut and well thought out as you probably perceive it to be from the outside. To give you a lowdown of what we do is we'll plan the year that never goes to plan in regards to going, right, this is what our ideas are. When we get to the quarter, we'll readjust that from how things are and stuff. We'll decide on a lead magnet, organic or paid, or both, or a collection of both. We'll then have a meeting about the messaging. And honestly, it's as simple as we dump our thoughts into a Word document. And then that messaging goes towards pushing whatever the aim is in regards to email marketing, social media marketing, and then all of that. And then there'll be individual little aspects of that come out of it. So then me and Nick might sit on a call and go through the ad, the creative, the copy, that type of stuff. And then Nick takes that off. I'll then probably talk about the social media messaging and all of that. But a lot of what we do and the process of it is what's already in the mentorship in regards to how it's planned out. So yeah, the marketing campaign stuff that's in there and the new stuff that will be built out in the new year. It's all in there. But I probably I don't know, maybe saying that from new people coming in and then going, right, well, how does that work? How do you build the strategy, build the plan, execute it, and then drive so many new people into the business? Like, it's very similar to what we advise you to do. So yeah, anything you'd add to that?
No. From an ad perspective, because I know Reese is going for his first one he's going to be doing. Very similar, maybe on a little bit of a more specific scale. Like, first of all, you've got to know the objective of what you want from the ad. 7 different objectives. Secondly, whether it's organic or emails or ads, you've got to know who the person is. You've got to know what the outcome is, what problem it's going to solve, writing the copy, creating the creative, and have a real clear outcome of what you want the end result to be from it, whether you're building your mailing list or getting attention or getting sales or whatever. So very similar, maybe in just a bit more specific scale.
I haven't played that down in any way, have I? I'm not, like, being honest, that's literally how it is. And sometimes it can we can land in a quarter and go, bollocks, like we're a couple of weeks before it starts, there's stuff that we need to scrape around. That's the reality of it sometimes. Yeah. There's no secret strategy to it. I don't even know what question who's asking the question now? Is it me?
Yeah.
What's the one question you want all coaches coming to the PTME conference to have in mind? That's a really good one. It's a really good one.
Yeah. I think maybe it's not a question as such. Maybe it's a view and a mindset. Is there's not very little time you are taking out of your normal routine with distractions, with responsibilities, with people wanting you to do this, do that, whether that's family, work, clients, gyms, management, friends, partners, whatever. Very little time across the year that happens. So the question and mindset I would want everyone to come with is, how can I get the absolute most out of these 2 days where I haven't got distractions. I'm in an environment full of amazing coaches, amazing business owners, amazing people where I can just soak everything up and take as much of it away as possible and not think I could do that next week or do that next week or whatever. Yeah, that would be, I guess, the question and also the kind of mindset towards it. Following on from Ant's story about posting a little more of your personal life on social media, would there be certain things you wouldn't post on social media, i.e., political relationship or getting hammered on a Saturday night? I've seen a certain PT post stuff that I wouldn't post, or is it depending on the type of PT and what they feel comfortable posting? Yeah, it's a good question.
It is a good question because I think this is a bit of a battle some people have. And I had it, that's what I think I shared that on the story the other day where we waffle about it. Listen, I think you've got to sit down and go, how do I want people to perceive me? And what part of the personal side of stuff do I want to get across? Or am I okay with getting across? I think having that conversation with yourself is really important about socials, because it can quickly become a bit of a head fuck in regards to what should you share, shouldn't you share, and all of that. So I think it's really important to sit down and go, right, how do I want to come across on socials? Like, what do I want it to say about me? What's important for me to share? What do I absolutely not want to share? I think if you have them types of conversations with yourself, the right things will come out. It's as simple as that, really. I do think it's important, the personal stuff. I do think your beliefs and your point of view and your opinions, no matter how, whether they're political, whether they're about, I don't know, football, whatever. Like, I think that if that's important to you and you don't mind sharing it, share it. Like, but I would have that conversation with yourself first. I think the conflicting part for me is that when we turned the page from AMP PTMA to PTMA, I sat down and had that conversation with myself, and there was hardly any part of that was, I suppose, me as dad or or I suppose the day-to-day life that used to be on there a hell of a lot. So it kind of changed because we were then a business. We were a business anyway, but we were both, it represented us both, where we had completely separate pages prior to that. So I do think it's still important for me and Nick to share personal stuff on there so people can connect to us as people and not just educators, mentors and coaches. So I kind of call myself out that I need to do a little bit more of that, of the day-to-day runnings of it. But because it's so busy that I can't, but it's a pretty shit excuse that I wouldn't have it probably from some of the other coaches. So yeah, I think have that conversation with yourself, ask yourself them questions, and then the right things will come out of it. And then you can not necessarily share the other things that you don't want to do, that you disagree with that other PT. Anything you'd add? Most important things to keep in mind when completely switching your marketing strategy.
Number one, going all in, not dipping your toe and committing to it. Number two is have quite a clear outcome on why you're switching and what the outcome is from that in the future, in the long term. Don't just switch because you feel you're not getting feedback, or there could be a more lucrative demographic, or basically the message isn't landing from you currently. I think those are my top two, to be honest. Everything else is more standard kind of marketing stuff. But I think one of the bigger ones is going all in, having a mission and vision behind it, a reason behind why you've chosen that particular demographic, a clear one. Yeah, I think those are my top two, to be honest. I can't think of anything to mind that is going to like spring out and that isn't kind of the normal standard stuff. Anything you can think of?
No, I think it's pointless going past them.
My barrier at the moment is fulfilling clients' personal goals while delivering small group PT. I know you can't do it to the same level as one-to-one, but any tips so that the client perceives I'm still taking care of their individual needs, i.e., it is still personal training, not a generic group session. Yes, they're all doing different versions of their exercise, but I'm talking about when a client has come to me to achieve a pull-up, build their upper body, for example, and we're doing squats, lunges, etc. Thanks.
I think first and foremost, when you have predominantly been an in-person one-to-one PT for a decent period of time, so for this person, I think over 3 years, the transition to a slightly different model in small group PT, there was a process to that mindset shift. So it's understandable that this is part of that process. It is for most. What I would say is that you can fulfill a client's personal goals the same level in small group PT as one-to-one. It very much depends on, I suppose, your level of understanding of that person and how you are creating the right program for that person to meet their goals. For argument's sake, using the example that you put in the question, they want to do a pull-up and build their upper body, for example. We are doing squats and lunges, but I'm also sure that from the programming, and for me, I would take this approach for most small group PT, there's going to be a decent portion of upper body within that programming. So that should tailor towards the goal. Plus, that client should have probably their own program to develop that in their own time too. So in my opinion, for me, clients can absolutely get the exact same level of personal guidance, personalized plan, feedback, accountability and support in a small group environment as they can in one-to-one. You just have to make sure that you've got the right processes in place to make sure, A, you seek to understand them well enough, B, you've connected the right program to the person with you and away from you in them sessions, i.e. the example I've said before. C, there is regular review and reset points to understand the person, their goals, their barriers, their challenges, what's changed, what's gone well, what's not gone well, what do we need to change, and all of that type of stuff. And then also the last point is that you're getting constant factual feedback from clients on that process. So you're not assuming, and I'm not saying you are, that you're not meeting a client's personal goals and needs by being in a small group environment. I think it'd be important to understand what your expectations are of that in regards to the time that you have with them clients, how they get the most out of that time with you and away from you. But yeah, anything you would add to that process, Nick? No points on it?
No, I think the only thing I would say is like whether I get like someone come in and they want to do the first pull-up, even if they're one-to-one, you're not going to be getting them to do pull-ups 3 times a week, or that's the only thing they're going to be focusing on. So I think, although yes, it's very client-centered in a way, you're going to have that element in there, but I think future pacing and having a structured program that you can show people and explain and manage expectations will massively help in that situation, rather than kind of trying to, like they said there, like someone's doing pull-ups on that session. That's not small group PT. That's trying to one-to-one people in and all at the same time. So I actually disagree in regards to one-to-one's better than small group. Yeah. Whatever. Next.
What's your proudest achievement as a coach? Wow.
Top one, I think there's a few, but I think the top one was when I was coaching and actually managing a gym in Cardiff. There's always used to be this, I think he was about 18, he wasn't older than that, 18, 19 lad, and he just used to spend ages on this cross trainer every morning, hour and 20 minutes, hour and a half every morning. And he never used to look at me in the eye. I used to say hello to him, and basically over the course of months, like we got chatting and blah, blah, blah. And then I started coaching him. And I actually started coaching him quite free, like for that age, like 3 times a week. And he would only train like first thing in the morning because he was too nervous about being in a busy gym. And he used to walk into the gym with his head down, looking at the floor. And fast forward like 6 months, he's training by himself. He's in the free weights area. His confidence is going through the roof. He's louder. And so I think the transformation of him, not just physically, but mentally and confidence wise, was probably, yeah, that was probably one of the top ones, I think.
Decent.
Next, the one. Worst high rock station.
I haven't done a high rock, so I don't know. Go on, hand it over to you.
Worst. The worst one for me was the sled pull. Not because it was the hardest one, but because it was the one that I wasn't expecting in regards to like how bungee the rope was, how slippy the floor was. that probably took me back, or surprised me, but that was the worst out of all of them based on that. The hardest one,
I really expected you to say the run. I know it's not, but I just expected you to
say what's the hardest part? Run, yeah, 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 hands down, yeah. How long do you need to be consistent with social media before you know there's something wrong with the messaging rather than an algorithm issue?
That was my question to you.
I just answered your question.
Okay. How long do you need to be consistent with social media before you know there's something wrong with your messaging rather than algorithm? Listen, there's no rule of thumb on this, but I would definitely give it I'd give it at least 30 to 60 days of consistent posting. I'm talking anything between 5 to 7 times a week. Just so you can get that actual feedback. Yeah, that's what I would say. I've never seen anyone turn around and go, right, if you're not doing it for this amount of time, then don't do it. But I would say probably 30 to 60 days so you can look back on it and go, right, well, what's worked and I need to double down on that. What's absolutely not worked and I need to avoid it again. So yeah, I would say that. Anything you would add to that? Next question. How can I better frame goal setting to clients if I'm not getting much back from them? I'm 100% looking at this being on me and an area to improve in my coaching. Are there any key methods, phases, principles, etc., that spring to mind that have worked from your past experiences?
Okay, a couple of things. First of all, if they're resistant to it or not opening up, I think reframe it. Don't use the same phrase as you've been using. So reframe it, maybe set the actual session up with some reflective questions for them. Like, for example, a rating system on how they would rate their progress, expectation, their inputs from nutrition and training perspective. The reason why I'd say that instead of going, hey, do you want to do a goal setting session, is because that creates the conversation of reflection, and then also naturally what is it going forward, and then that can kind of frame that session a little bit better. So yes, there's frameworks within goal setting, from example what you guys are going to go through in a week, which is a mixture of bridge model, grow model, which will help take people through that journey of setting goals really efficiently and effectively. But I think it's also the setup of that conversation, session, talk that is really going to either make people buy into it, open them up, or allow them to stay in their default setting when answering questions about goal setting. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that has definitely worked in the past and presently to open people up. Anything add or different?
No, and my screen's just gone off weirdly. There we go.
Wow. Weird.
Next question.
That's it.
Oh, is it? Brilliant. That's great. Great news.
It's fantastic, isn't it? Do an outro.
We may.
Yeah, go on.
Can't think of one. Forget it. How many tickets are left for the conference?